Welcome everyone to our Monday night shiur. We are the day after Hanukkah, Zot Hanukkah, B'zot Hashem Yitbarach, שכולכם יתברכו, ממזל העליון, ברכה והצלחה, ישוד גדולות. Now starts mamash the new year. Yesterday was the last chotam, the last chance, you could have changed everything. Now we're already getting the pitka. Now we're already continuing on for the year. So first of all, before we start, our shiur is sponsored by Hatzlachat Mishpachat Shimonov, Israel ben Asher, Israel ben Leah, Michal bat Chana, Israel Yosef Hayim, Avigal Tamar, Elisheva Chana, Sarah Rivka bat Bnei Michal. Hashem should bless that family for being constant sponsors for the Torah. Hashem should bless them with bracha, v'atzlacha, parnasa, kezer ra'eh v'kadesh. Amen. You know what kind of bracha it is? Because it's higher than the Birkat Harav.
What?
And also our shiur sponsored L'Refuah Shlema for another Shimono family, different. And kosher zivuk for Eliezer bat ben Nela Sarah, Yocheved Ariela bat Nela Sarah, and Gabriela bat Natella. Hashem should bless them with bracha, v'atzlacha, Refuah Shlema, Yesod Gedolot. Amen. Amen. Vayigash elav Yehuda. Parashat Vayigash. We're reaching the climax of Parasha of Sefer Bereshit. The brothers, the Shevatim, they're in Egypt. They were all accused of being thieves, by Yosef. They don't recognize Yosef. It says they don't recognize him. Why don't they recognize Yosef? Rashi says, what does Rashi say, guys? Why don't they recognize Yosef? Because he had a beard. When they left him, how old was he? 17 years old. He was excuse me for the word, he was a bacheke. Now they come back, he's 30 years old. He was older than 30. 30 years old he came out. He was 37 here already. Maybe even older. He was a grown man. He had a lot on his plate. You know, Yosef passed away, the first out of all of his brothers. He was 110 years old when he passed away. Also, Yoshua bin Nun, his Gilgul was 110. He was his Nitzos Neshamas Dari, his Mifurash and Dari HaKadosh Otzrot Hayim. Yoshua bin Nun was the Nitzotz of Yosef HaTzadik. He came out from the Yesod of Yosef himself. Yosef was Yoshua. They were both 110. They were both Shevet. He was from Shevet Ephraim. They were both leaders of Klal Israel. And Yoshua married Rachav. Rachav was the Nitzotz of Zulicha. That's why Rachav was, I don't want to say the word, she was the zebra. So she was big, she was a known woman, right? Her window was by the wall. Why was it by the wall? That's where all the ministers used to go up to the house over there. So their wives wouldn't know that they were doing Levizila over there. They used to go on top of by the window, by the wall, used to sneak in. She was a very known mistress. And she converted and she became a Ger Tzedek and she married Yoshua. It means Yoshua got married in his 80s. He was very late when he got married. First time. He never got married in his life, Yoshua. Which is interesting. How come Yoshua never got married, guys? I mean, the Torah said what? He didn't get the Torah? They got the Torah. The Jews got the Torah 3 times in the desert. Moshe wrote it 3 times. He didn't write it all the time. Where was the first time he wrote it? In Har Sinai. Har Sinai. Right? And the second place was where? No, Har Sinai. He wrote up until Parashat Mishpatim. After that, he wrote the second part. Until where?
Before they came to Israel.
No, before that's Arvot Moab. That's where he wrote Sefer Dvarim. That's where he wrote. The second part was in the desert. In the desert itself, there was one stop. They stopped over there for over 22 years. There was one place over there. You guys okay?
Is it Mara?
Huh?
Mara?
Not in Mara. Mara was before Har Sinai. But everything is good over there. There was one place, Klal Yisrael, when they lived in the desert, they didn't know where they would go. Where would they be the next day? If the Anan would go up, there was a cloud, GPS. If it would go up, they knew it's time to pack our bags to go. There was one place that means they would stay in a place every day, not knowing where would they be the next day. And not only that, they didn't know where they would get their next meal from. They wouldn't know if they would get man tomorrow. Why did Hashem do that to us? To build our emunah. To build our emunah. For 40 years in the desert, they didn't know where they would get their next meal. Every single day, and they weren't allowed to leave any savings. No savings. Nothing in a savings account. You couldn't leave any man left over. There's no no insurance policies. Nothing. Emunah, straight emunah, to work on their emunah, That's why Hashem was very strict with them. One small thing they did wrong, right away, shatet. To build their emunah so strong, when they get to Eretz Yisrael, the sad thing is, guys, what's the sad thing? that they all died. None of them stayed and got to Eretz Yisrael. Only 2 people stayed. Who stayed?
One generation stayed.
Yoshua.
No, but you said 1 year they
The
stayed.
young generation stayed, but the older generation, Yoshua and Kavanah, were the only ones who
The
stayed.
woman also, right?
Right, and the woman. That's true. All the women stayed alive. Why? The women loved Eretz Yisrael. Also, the Rashi says in Parashat Pinchas, the women didn't die in the desert. Only the men died in the desert. Because the women wanted to go to Eretz Yisrael. The men never wanted to go. Because men, they need insurance. They need parnasah. They need to have stability. Women are not like they're belaflaf. You know, life for them is fantasy. It's a fantasy. I'm not saying anything against the women. We love the women, our wives, our daughters. But Yoshua bin Nun, how come what's our question? What was our question? How come Yoshua didn't get married? What's the halacha, guys? A person that's very good, a person who learns Torah and he feels like he cannot learn Torah if he's married, doesn't have to get married. That's the halacha. And what does it say? Not in our days. The Tosfot says there's nobody like that today, so don't kid you. If you have a coffee break in the middle of your learning Torah, you're already disqualified. If you look at your phone in the middle of you learning Torah, you're already disqualified. It's not considered like your Torah is your passion. If you take a break in the middle of your learning Torah, you're already disqualified. There's this kind of thing over here that you have to be in such a level of limud Torah that there should be no second. Today we're so addicted to our phones. I once tested myself. How many times I look at my phone while I'm learning? Why? Every day I have a time of the day where I have to learn Chok Yisrael and a Daf of Gemara. All the time, every day. It's my time of the day after Shacharit. I finish Shacharit, right away I open up Chok Yisrael. I read a couple of psukim of Chumash, Navi, Ketuvim. Then when I have time, right away I open up the Gemara. Daf of Gemara a day keeps the doctor away. And I tested myself to see how many times I look at my phone just instinctively to see the time, the text, the news, this, that. You know how many times I look at my phone while I'm learning? I don't want to say the number. I'm embarrassed to say the number. That's not considered. That's kavati itim laTorah. You know, you're kovea itim. It counts. I hope it counts. But the point is, we cannot say that our passion is Torah. You know, when you're working, when you're giving a cut to somebody, you're looking at your phone. Maybe you guys do look at your phone when you guys are giving a haircut. But when your person really likes something, right? You're eating a delicious steak. You're going to be looking at your phone. You're into the steak. You're into the food. You're into because you have a passion. You love it. It says by Yoshua bin Nun, he's a na'ar. He was a young lad. Called young lad. He was in his 50s and 60s. Na'ar. Lo yamish mitoch ha'oel. He wouldn't leave the oil. What does that mean, lo yamish mitoch ha'oel? He would never stop learning. To all the time, constant girsa b'Torah, because everything was by heart. A constant girsa. That kind of person in that time was patur from lilmod Torah, patur from getting married. When he saw Rachav Azonah, how come he was allowed to marry? Well, he stopped Torah being his passion. Once you're the leader of a nation already, your Torah already diminishes. That's what happened to Yosef too. When he became a leader, he died first. 110 years old he was. Why? The ribonut, to be a superior on top of it, it's so stressful it kills you. It says in the Perkei Avot, harabanut koveret ba'aleh. The rabbanut, being a rabbi, being in a place of superior, being a boss, it buries you. Tisnat rabbanut. Shammai said that. Tisnat rabbanut. Why? Not rabbanut being a rabbi. It doesn't say hate to be. It's wrong. People think rabbanut means a rabbi. Rabbanut means being a boss. Hate to be a boss. Hate to be in power. Why? You're not going to live a long life. On the other hand, ha-chokhmah, wisdom, tichaye ba'aleya, makes a person live long. That's why the Sfaradim, we never used to call our rabbis Rav. We always used to call them what? Chacham. Chacham Ovadia, Chacham Shaul Chaim Duka Kohen, Chacham Ephraim HaKohen. Why? We're giving them a blessing. When you call the rabbi a Chacham, giving him a blessing, you should live a long life. Because you should know one thing, any person that reaches the age of Zikna, when a person reaches the age of 60, it's a very big thing in Shamayim. He passed the age of Karet. That means in Shamayim, he's clean of Karet. Because if he was Chayav Karet, he would have died before 60. Anybody who dies before 60, it might be Karet. It could be in the last Gilgul Karet, it could be in this Gilgul Karet. Rav Chaim Vital, when he was a young boy, not a young boy, when he was older, how old was he when he met the Ari HaKadosh? He was in his 30s. He was a bit older than the Ari. Ari HaKadosh was teaching him Torah. And he was older than him. But like 1-2 years older than him he was. So the Ari told him all of his Gilgulim. He told him everything. Before you're born to this world, says the Ari, your soul can't come right away into a body. Because your neshama is so pure. Elokai neshama shenatata bi Torah. It's hard for the neshama to connect to the body. So it needs to come like in a trial base. What does Hashem do? On top of you have an or makif. In your or makif, you have nishamot over there. Those nishamot, they affect you. You understand? Sometimes you have bad thoughts. Where do they come from, these bad thoughts? Sometimes, a person gets it like a devonagi, opens the light, closes the light, opens the light, closes the light. Or everything, like these kinds of like OCDs, you know what I'm saying? Those things, they come from nishamot, they don't come from you. But what is this? There's no diagnosis for these things. These come from Rabbi Yehuda Aftai. It says, if Rabbi Yehuda Aftai used to say, give me half an hour in a psych ward, I can clean everybody from over there. Wow. I say half of the people over there. Rabbi Yehuda Aftai used to say that. He said, give me half an hour in a psych ward. I clean. There's no diagnosis for these people, right? They just give them pills to calm them down. That's what it is. You actually, when they went inside, they were less psychotic than when they're inside. So it says over there, when the neshama comes inside, let's say there's a neshama on top of me right now, and I do an avera that affects him. So when he's going to be born now, he has to fix my averot.
How many times we get bad? You mean like
he has to fix them. So you come. There's neshamot that come up to 3 times. 3 times. So Rav Chaim Vital, the first time, because he was a new neshama, when he came on top of a tzaddik, that tzaddik's name was Rabbi Vidal. Now pay attention. What was his name? Rabbi Chaim Vital. Who was this rabbi? Rabbi Vidal. What's Vidal in Italian? It means life. Chaim Vital. It means life. Vidal is life. And his name was Chaim Vital. So you see how it connects? Who is this Rabbi Vidal? If you open up any Rambam, you have the Rambam in the middle, right? And right over here you have a commentary. Who's this commentary? Vidal. His name was Rabbi Vidal di Toulouse. Wow. Very big Rishon. Whoever learns the Maggid Mishnah, whoever learns the Rambam, it's like learning Rashi and the Chumash. You must learn the Maggid Mishnah. So Rabbi Chaim Vidal was on top of him. Now what happened? This Rabbi Vidal is a Rishon. You know what a Rishon is? You take 1,000 rabbis of our generation, they're not going to equal to his pinky. This is a Rishon. When he was once learning Torah, a woman came to him, asked him a question. She said to him, could you please check my nidah cloth? She told him. He was in the middle of a sugya, very deep. So he looked at it and he was, like, kasher. And he let her go. But really that cloth, the blood, was tameh. Wow. When Rabbi Chaim Vital came in the Gilgul, he had to fix that avera. What happened to him? When he got married, what avera is that? Nida. The rabbi, the Rishon, caused that woman to be kosher, her husband in what? In Nida. Now when Rabbi Chaim Vital was born, when he got married, back then, I told you guys this, they used to do kishuf to the chatan. And the night of their marriage, they used to do the kshira. They used to tie him. I don't know, some kind of, that you could call voodoo. They used to do some kind of kishuf to him. And Rabbi Chaim Vital, for a couple of months, he was with his wife, and every time she would bleed. That means every time would be kosher in nida, just like he was supposed to hold himself back. You understand what I'm saying? But instead of holding himself back, he made it worse. So Rabbi Ari said, you have to die now. Because why? Karet, you have to die. So Rabbi Chaim Vital, he didn't give up hope. You see, he didn't give up hope. He went home, he ripped his shirt, he sat on the floor, put ashes on his head. I'm not telling you skaska, you open up Shar Gilgulim. He started to cry like a baby. The Ari called him, he said the next day, your teshuvah was so strong, they erased all the Arun Nida.
For one night.
For one night, he sat, he davened, and he cried. And he was mitbatel the thing. Obviously, the Ari later on gave him more tikkunim to do, but that death that they gave him, they were ma'ari chapayim with him. Now, the second time, look at this. Rabbi Chaim, that was the first Gilgul of Rabbi Chaim Vital. What was the second Gilgul of Rabbi Chaim Vital? He came on top of a guy called Rabbi Yoshua Suriano. You like that name? Suriano. Rabbi Yoshua Suriano. This Rabbi Yoshua Suriano, I don't know if you call him Rabbi, he heard from a guy that if you eat the fat, not the kosher fat, the chalev, what do you call the chalev? The charbu. If you eat the charbu, it's healthy for you. It's going to clean all your cholesterol, schmolesterol. Now chalev is what? It's if you eat chalev, you get lashes, skila. What's chalev?
Karet, no?
Karet.
Yeah.
So Rabbi Vidal did karet, and Rabbi Yoshua Suryano did karet also, same thing. And he was eating this charbu, this chelev and dam. He was eating. He thought it was healthy for him. Pikuach nefesh. He was eating. This was affecting who? Rabbi Chaim Vital. That's why Rabbi Chaim Vital, when he came back as himself, when he used to do shchita, when he used to see the chelev, for some reason in his head, he was so traumatized by it, he used to cut off all the chelev with the meat. And the Ari says, you know why you do that? Because subconsciously your neshama wants to clean itself from that avera so much that you cut off, when you do the nikur, you cut extra with the basar and you throw it out. You waste because that means the mitzvot that we do and the averot that we do, it's all subconsciously in our head, it's stuff that we're connected to from our past gilgulim. But the third gilgul that he was, Rabbi Chaim Vital, before he came to this world, was a man called Rabbi Shaul. Rabbi Shaul Trishti. Some Turkish guy. And this Rabbi Shaul made a big avera. He was doing brit milah from somebody, and he cut the kid so badly, the kid bled to death. So the Ari said, because you are Rabbi Shaul, to fix that avera, you're not allowed to do any britot, you gotta get away from blood. Anything that deals with blood, you have to stay away from. He told Rabbi Chaim Vital, except for what? You have a mitzvah to do a brit to who? Your son. That means for your son, it's a mitzvah, deoraita, for you to give a brit to your son. You understand? For your son, you could do it. But for other people, I say, Rabbi Chaim, do brit for my kid. You're not allowed to do it.
What about shchita?
Shchita too. He told him, don't do shchita. He told Rabbi Chaim Vital, you're not allowed to even kill a parouch. I say parouch. A mosquito. Wow. You can't even kill a mosquito. You see a mice? Lo aleinu, lo alam Yisrael. Our building is having right now some kind of infestation over there. Lo aleinu. So you see a mouse, you can't kill it. You see a lice, he told him. A lice! You can't kill it. A louse. Louse. One louse, many lice. Yeah. You can't kill it. Why? Now, what's the reason he couldn't kill it? B'shorsho, Rabbi Chaim Vital was the Gilgul of Cain. It was the Gilgul of Cain. Okay. The fact that Cain was a killer, anybody who comes from the Shorosh Neshama of Cain, they're not allowed to kill. They're not allowed to draw blood. They can't be doctors. They're not allowed to be doctors. They're not allowed to, not only that, they have to be very careful not to embarrass people. Because embarrassing somebody is also an abizrayus of killing.
What about David HaMelech?
David HaMelech was, that's a different story over there, but he did kill.
But he was from Cain.
He was from Cain. Who did he kill? Uriah Hittite. But he went to kill with the heter to fight the wars of Hashem. That's something else. Understand? In that case, there was an exception. Understand? But in general, anybody who comes from Shorish Cain has to be very afraid, be very careful from drawing blood. He has to be very careful from these things. Whoever comes from Hevel, what's his tikkun mostly? What was Hevel's avera? He looked where he wasn't supposed to look. He had to guard his eyes. Wow. You have to guard your eyes. That's the tikkun of Hevel. Also, Hevel, people who come from Hevel are very nosy. They're very curious. They like to always look. Teach me, tell this, that. They have to know. Also went to some rabbi called me. I'm sure he's not listening to this, so I'll say. Obviously, I'm not gonna say his name. So he calls me. In the Chanukah, there's many kavanot. When you light the lights of Chanukah, many kavanot, and they're very big kavanot too. In the kavanot of Chanukah, there's a kavanah of Yom Kippur that could fix the avera of those rainbow people. I don't want to say their name. That's what it means. Ache tichle regel min hashuk. You know what that means? You have to light the Hanukkah candles until nobody is walking in the marketplace. This word regel is two kavanot that could fix the avera of those people who like. So while you light the candles, you could fix that avera. You have to know what you're doing, obviously. Of course, you have to know what you're doing. So anyway, so this rabbi is calling me, and I know this rabbi is a big halachist. Everything halacha. Lately, he's getting very into the Ari HaKadosh. So right away, people who get into the Ari, they get very excited. So right away, they jump to the hardest part. What? The kavanot. And before you get to the kavanot, you have to run all the shmona sha'arim. You have to live sha'arei kedusha. You have to learn sha'arei orah. You have to. What's kavanot? What, you think if you're doing kavanot, you're the Ari HaKadosh over here? What, you think you're moving over here olamot? Say thank you if your tefillah goes up. You understand? No, I tested myself. This is what I want to talk to you guys also about today. This is the big tikkun for your brit. This is the big tikkun. I'll tell you what it was. Vayigash elav Yehuda. It's connected. Test yourself. How long it takes you when you're davening to lose concentration? How long it takes you when you say Amonai? I tell you, the longest I pay attention from myself when I already start to lose concentration is by Atachonen. Once I get to Atachonen Adam Dat, suddenly my mind, it's like subconsciously, it just transports me to somewhere else, and I have to bring it back. You understand? Try one now. You know, Rabbi Vayigash Yosef used to daven in 2 minutes. Shmona Yisrael. Rabbi Vayigash Yosef used to daven Shmona Yisrael in 2 minutes.
No.
Yeah, he used to daven quickly, very fast. Which Rebbe? I think one of the big Admorim, the Baba or Belzer Rebbe, one of them. He davens like before he already starts Amonai Sefatai. He's already in Oseh Shalom. Like a. You guys think I'm fast? This guy is a torpedo. Like this Admor, he's a torpedo. So they once asked him, "How come you daven so fast?" He says, "People don't understand when you lose the Kavanah, the tefillah, what kind of pegam it is in your tefillah. That's why we daven so fast.
That's the point.
It's such a big adera to lose concentration. You're ruining the whole tefillah. Kiviyachol. You're ruining tefillah. That's what they used to say. Rabbi Vayigash Yosef, I heard it from a rabbi used to daven with him inside his house. Rabbi Vayigash used to daven, and he used to daven so fast that before Elokai Netzor Oseh Shalom, there's like wishes over there. So he used to daven so fast, and he would even wait. Before the Oseh Shalom, he used to wait like a couple of minutes. Like it shouldn't look. That's how quick he was. That means even with waiting, he was that quick. He would stop before Oseh Shalom because he would daven so fast. So people shouldn't say, "Well, how fast is this? Is he davening?" Now, a person opens up a Sidur Ari, Sidur Harashash. It's very nice. It's very good. He's doing kavanot. He's mekavin. Do you know what the Ari HaKadosh says is one of the most important kavanot? I bet nobody does this. When you say Shem Hashem, think of Yud Kei Vav Kei and Shem Amonai together. Yud Aleph, Hey Dalet, and Vav Nun, Hey Yud. When you say Baruch Atah Hashem, think of that name. It's in every Sidur. Back in the day, they didn't have these kind of Sidurs. The Ashkenazi rabbis used to buy Sephardi Sidurs in Yerushalayim. Rabbi Yaakov Yosef said this. There was first book, called Tfilat Yesharim. This is still in Rabbi Chaim of Shul. This book is like 40 years old, 50 years old. This Sidur. Inside the Sidur, Baruch Atah Hashem, in the Hashem, when you say Hashem, there's a big Hey, right? The last Hey is a big Hey. And inside is Yud Aleph. Do you know where that Kavanah comes from? From the Ari HaKadosh. So before you're doing Kavanot Ari, Regel, Rashash, do you do the simple Kavanah? I tested myself. You know how many of those I miss? Do you know when you do that Kavanah, it's a tikkun of your Pegama Brit? Because the Shem Havaya, that's your Brit Milah. Shem Amonai is the Malchut, it's the Shekhinah. When you put them together, it's the tikkun for your Brit. Simple things that you could do in your tefillah, you're fixing everything. Do you know when you say Baruch Atah Hashem Ga'al Yisrael, and then you say Hashem Sefalat Yiftach, when you put together Ga'al Yisrael and Hashem Sefalat Yiftach, you're making a tikkun for your Brit Milah? In our Sidurs, it's in every Sidur.
Yeah.
In every Sidur they have this. HaSomech Geula L'Tfilah. You know what Somech Geula L'Tfilah is? There was one rabbi in the Gemara, one day he did Baruch Atah Hashem Ga'al Yisrael, Hashem Sefalat Yiftach. All day he was laughing. All day he was laughing from the koach of his tefillah. Today we do it every single day. When you go to shul, it's a shame when we tell each other, how fast is this minyan? How fast do I get out? Mi bikesh zot mikem remos chatzera. Hashem says, who asked for you to come to my shul? Then ask, when can I run away from it? This is a tefillah to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You think Hashem doesn't read your mind? You think Hashem doesn't know what you're thinking, how fast you can get out? When a person comes to shul, over here, you don't see it, but you could feel it. This shul is a Beit HaMikdash. That means in here, all the mitzvot you do in here, it's like you're fixing the Shekhinah. Kabutabi, it's like you're fixing the Shekhinah. The Torah that you learn in the shul is 10 times more powerful than the Torah that you learn inside your house. The tefillah that you do inside the shul is 10 times stronger than tefillah inside your house. Small kavanot, guys. When you say Baruch Atah Hashem, Baruch Atah Hashem. In the Shulchan Aruch it's written this. Nowhere, it's in the Shulchan Aruch. When you say Baruch Atah Hashem, you have to think Adon Hakol Hayav V'Yeh. And people here are asking Kavanot Hanukkah, the Shalhevet, the Malhevet, Kavanot, Yudke Vavkes, Ekyez, or Makif, or Pirimi. What or Makif or Pirimi? Do the Pshat. Pshat of the Ari Kadosh. If a person does the tefillah, person holds the shofar. And he thinks he's doing Kavanot. He's looking. Chas Shalom, all that Kavanah could go to the Sitra Achra. Yeah. Why? He comes to the Kavanot, but last night he was watching Netflix.
And every day is something new page.
Yeah, that's true, but it's the teshuvah. When I'm at a wedding, when somebody asks me, could you please be a witness at my wedding? I don't like to be witness at anybody's wedding. Because to be a witness is the most important thing at a wedding. People think whoever does the kiddush, this, that's nothing. That's stam. That's a stam kavod. The real important person at the wedding is who? Besides for the chatan and kala, obviously, is the edim. The edim have to be tzaddikim. Before I go to be the ed, what do I say? I say vidui. I say vidui before I become an ed. Why? How can I be an ed at a wedding if I myself have so many averot?
So you want to say clean page.
You have to be a clean page, but as well, you have to believe once you do teshuvah, Hashem forgave you right away. This is true. But how are you going to go make kavanot if the night before you were watching Amazon Prime? I want to know. How are you going to make kavanot if the night before you were thinking of shtuyot? How are you going to have kavanot if you don't practice tzniut in your bedroom? Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, in Masechet Pesachim, he curses the people who was with their spouses naked. What do I mean by naked? Without covering themselves with the bed sheets. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai curses these people. Well, you think the Shekhinah is not in your bedroom?
Nobody knows.
Oh, now you know. The Shekhinah.
You
know, I'm going to tell you this because this is something we're learning. I'm going to talk with Beremis. In the book Sefer Charedim, or Rabbi Eliezer Eskeri. He was a big tzaddik, he lived in Sefat. You know, the Shulchan Aruch says when a person is with his wife, it's mamash. It's like the Yudke Vavke and the Ammonai is coming together. That's what it is. This is what the pasuk Vayigash elav Yehuda. Yehuda is the Shechina, Yosef is the Zachar. You understand? It's the two keruvim, they come together. So when a person is with his wife, he has to practice the utmost tzniut. So Rabbi Eliezer Eskeri said there was once in his town, in Tzfat, in the time of Yosef Karo, Baal Shulchan Aruch, one guy, he was with his wife in the wrong way. Let's say it like that. From the back. Guys got the remez?
Yeah.
Not the tzniut way, but from like a dog. When Yosef Karo found out about that, he put a guy in cherem. In cherem, I promise you, open up Sefer Charedim, it's in the end over there. He put them. How did he find out? The woman said to Yosef Karo, she told him, no, she went to complain because my husband is treating me like an animal. When Rav Yosef Karo, look how tzaddikim they were back then. Unbelievable. The tzaddikim, look how they were makpid. And then a person asks, how come my kids come out ADD, ADHD, AD this, and I'm a teacher in school. How sad it is when I see kids on that pill. It's like they're zombies. Mamash zombies. I don't know what it does. It doesn't help them. So you put that inside, they're like this the whole day. Without it, they're jumping off the wall. With it, it's a zombie. What does that help? But you could save that from your children. How are you going to save that? How? When you do the zivug b'tzniut. When a person does a b'tzniut, it's a tikkun abrit. That's the tikkun itself. Also, the Shulchan Aruch says, "Le'olam al yehe adam im ishto ketarnegol." Don't be like a rooster with your spouse. What is a rooster? A rooster is one rooster with 100 hens. All day, ragadag dagadag. You understand? This is the rooster. Don't be a rooster. Non-stop. Don't be a rooster, he says. Onatan shel talmidei chachamim mishabat leshabat. You have to exercise control. Exercise control. Do you know the biggest tikkun? I'm going to read it to you right now. Shovavim is coming up. The Chalban says, listen very carefully, guys. Don't say I didn't tell you. The Chalban says you could already start making tikkunim from Shovavim this week. in the book of the Ari Kadosh, Sha'ar Halikutim, says like this. This Shabbat is called Shabbat HaGadol. When is usually Shabbat HaGadol? Before Pesach. You know what the Gurei Ari says? It's in Sefer Halikutim. That this week is Shabbat HaGadol. Why is it Shabbat HaGadol? Tasimu lev. Tasimu lev. Why is it Shabbat HaGadol?
The coming one?
This Shabbat. This Shabbat is also considered Shabbat HaGadol. Why? Look, you're never going to hear this chidush in your life. This for sure, this week, I told you guys a chidush. For sure. Why is this week Shabbat HaGadol? Listen to this. This week you can make a tikkun for your brit for all your life. Gurei Ari say this. Why? Sefer Halikutim says, for 22 years, Yaakov didn't have nivu'ah. 22 years he didn't have nivu'ah. What's nivu'ah? Prophecy. Why didn't he have prophecy? He was sad. He was sad.
No, he was away from Yosef.
The pshat. He was away from Yosef. He was sad. Okay. The Shekhinah doesn't rest on the top of a person who's sad. You should know that. So you always have to be b'simcha. Right? You have to be always b'sim. Not simcha doesn't mean smoke weed and jump and dance and laugh like a retard. That doesn't mean simcha. This means tfekut. That's not simcha. Simcha means that you have to be miu ashir hasamer b'chelko. If a person wakes up in the morning and it's dark outside and he's depressed all day because of that, he's very far from the truth. He's very far from the truth. Anyways, so the Gurei Ari says, Yaakov Avinu, he represents Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei. He represents. Which letter in the Yud Kei Vav Kei is a person's brit?
Vav.
Which letter?
Yud.
Yud. Vav.
Vav. Yesod. Vav.
The Vav.
Yeah.
The Yesod. The Yesod is the sixth sphere. Is the sixth. And the Vav 6. Right? For 22 years, the letter Vav was missing from Yaakov Avinu.
How many?
22 years, he was missing his Yosef. There was no Yosef, he was missing it.
What do you mean he was on his now?
Yosef represented his Yesod. Ele Toledot Yaakov.
Yosef.
Yosef ben Shva. What's Shva Yisrael? What's Gematria of Shva Yisrael? Tov. What's the name of the Yesod? Tov.
Okay.
Tov. Another name for the Yesod is Tov. Shh. This week, Yaakov is reunited with Yosef. Yaakov is reunited with his Yesod. He took his letter Vav. That's the secret of the goblet, says the Gurei Ari. What's the whole thing with this goblet? The silver goblet. He takes the goblet, Nachesh Yenachesh, he makes Kishuf, he puts it in Binyamin's sack. What's the gematria of Gavia? Milah. The Brit Milah. The gematria of Gavia is Milah. It's the Brit. It's Hidush from the Ari. Yosef was saying to his brothers, I am the Yesod. He was giving them a hint. All this time he was throwing them hints. It's me really. I'm the Yesod. Because who took his spot when he left? Who took his spot? Binyamin took his spot. Yosef was saying, Binyamin is something else, and I'm something else. This is my spot. That's why when Yosef said to his brothers, Ani Yosef, what did he reveal to them? What did he reveal? The Midrashas, what did he do to prove that he had a thing? He showed his breed. That's a sword. He was telling them that he was the real Yesod. Because the Tiferet, which is Yaakov, was reunited with his Yesod, says the Ari, that this Gurei Ari, this week is called Shabbat HaGadol.
Wow.
And the Chalban says you could already start doing Tikkun HaShavavim from this week. And it works. And also, this week is how many weeks of Shavavim? 8 weeks, not 6. And you know what the Rav Ben Zion Mutzafi writes in his book, Yesod HaShavavim, Yesod Zion? All the Tikkunim of your Brit really take place, they all get together, and only on the Shemitah year, and the leap year, which is this year, that's when they really go up. This year is a very powerful year, that's why there's a lot of tests this year. A lot of tests. Did you know that today, the chief of the Mossad, I hate talking about current events, but the chief of the Mossad, David Barnea.
They call you?
Huh?
They call you or something?
They didn't call me.
Conference call.
He told the United States, he said to them, over my dead body, Iran is getting nuclear weapons. Basically he said that if you guys they're doing a nuclear deal again with the Iran. And the chief of Mossad said today, he said that I'm never gonna allow this to happen, and everything is on the table, including military action. They're coming to America right now, him and Benny Gantz, to try to convince the US to take military action against Iran.
Not with Biden.
To take military action. Things are heating up. We want it to heat up already. Ad matay letzarotenu. We want the Geula already. We want the Yesod. However, to be what's his name? Michael. To be saved, you need a what? Zechut. Now I'm gonna throw you guys another bomb. There's a lot of bombs today. We want a tikkun. We want a tikkun for our brit. That's the main thing. If the brit is clean, everything is clean. It says over here, in the name of Rabbi Eliyahu Itamari, Glavni Rabbi. His name, he wrote a book called Shevet Musar. His name was Rabbi Eliyahu, big tzaddik. He was in Turkey. He says, Kibalti, I got a tradition. Mi rabotai, virabotai. From my Rebbe's tradition. Ech yeda adam, how will a person know? Sha'avonotav nimchalu. I want to know a sign, Ariel. Yeah. Stop checking NASDAQ. I want a sign that my averot were forgiven. I want a sign that Kol Nimchak. How do I know? Gabriel, how do I know?
Put a hand in the fire.
Put the hand in the fire. No, don't do that. Michael, how do you know that your averot were Nimchalu?
If you don't think about it.
You're close. Rabbi Eliyahu Itamari says, if you forgot about it.
Oh, you forgot about
it. It
that.
doesn't come to your head anymore. Your head already, it became like a washing machine. It cleaned the avera from your brain. That's what, yes. And that's what David HaMelech said. Remember, he did the whole thing with Bathsheba? Mm-hmm. What did he say in Tehillim? V'chatati negdi tamid. I always thinking about my avera. That means he couldn't stop thinking about it.
In front of my eyes, right? He said.
It's always in front of my v'chatati negdi tamid. Why did he say that? Because as long as it's in front of your eyes, you still didn't do real teshuvah. I gotta keep on doing teshuvah. You gotta do it's not enough.
He did so much.
It's not enough.
Not in his level.
It's not enough. And also for you, it's not enough. You're never allowed to say, I did enough segula, enough this. You still have breath. You still have life. You still have neshama. You got to keep on doing. That's your olam haba. When you're going to go up there in Shamayim, in olam haba, when you go up to Shamayim, you want a back seat? There's going to be big bleachers. In the middle is going to be a Kadosh Baruch Hu teaching Torah. You want a seat in you ever been in Giant Stadium? I was there once, not to go to a football game. I was there for the Siyum Mashas. I remember it holds like 80,000 people, 90,000. I was all the way in I'm looking over there, what are they saying, what are they doing? Imagine you go up to Shamayim, they let you inside Gadaev. Gabriel Chaim passed. He's with Lashem, he's in, VIP, he's in.
Bring
all right,
camera.
You go in.
I gotta be in the front seat because I'm shooting camera.
Yeah, shooting camera. He comes inside. Okay, here's the ticket. Row ZYX BBD. Goes there to the front, all taken. Talmidei Chachamim. Goes back, all taken. Talmidei Chachamim. Finally finds himself all the way in the back. Here is your binoculars, Gabriel. Have a good sight. This is the meaning of the Gemara. When you get to Olam Haba, there's a lot of jealousy. What's the jealousy? Everybody looks at his friends where he's sitting and he's like, wow, if only I got to his seat.
There's jealousy there too?
Yes.
Why jealousy?
Everybody is not only jealous, he's embarrassed.
Embarrassment I understand, but jealousy.
He's embarrassed. And then you're going to ask Hashem, send me back. So I could do more. Everyone is bosh michupat chavero. Imagine you go up to Shamayim, you get a hazmana. Today you're invited to Ari Kadosh's shiur. But then another friend of yours gets to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's shiur. Wow, as an embarrassment it's going to be. How come I can't go to his shiur? And you don't have to be a big lamdan to go into their shiurim in Shamayim. If you learn their sfarim, if you're connected to them, you're getting in. The Chachamim say, even if you didn't understand what you're reading, but you just read it, because I love the Torah, I just want to read it, I didn't understand what I was reading, in Shamayim they're going to remind you and they're going to teach you. Also the Gemara, also the Mishnah, also the Zohar, especially the Zohar HaKadosh. We have so much work to do. I want to read you what it says in this book. Yesod Tzion. Kol ha'osek b'Torah lishma, Gabriel. Anybody who learns Torah lishma, for the sake of, avonotav, listen to what he's saying. Avonotav, his averot, mitchaprim, get erased and atoned for. Verabu ma'alotav, and his ma'ala in Shamayim is very great. What are you going to do after 120? You're going to get to Shamayim. This big Rosh Yeshiva, he's all the way in the back. Why? And he was teaching Torah, but when he came home that night, he was looking at Netflix. You think you see people over here, they're learning Zohar, Kabbalah, and at night they go, they watch Shtuyot. I know a guy. They used to watch Japanese cartoons. And he used to come and learn, wow, this is Shtuyot, wow. It's a Tikkunim people made to erase all that garbage from their brain. That's why after 120, you're going to go to Nahar Dinur. There's a mikveh over there. But this mikveh is not made out of water. The sweat of angels. The sweat of angels. The sweat of the angel is called Nahar Dinur. It's scarier than Gehinnom, that mikveh. People do whatever they can just not to go into that mikveh. Whoever dies on a Friday, he gets free from that mikveh. Look at the power of Shabbat, Gabriel. Look at the power of Shabbat. Sifatayim Nishak. Wow, this Shabbat, just the Kiddushat. Shabbat didn't even come in yet. He gets saved from it. It's a zechut. Person has to daven that if he leaves this world, it should be on a Friday. He should be buried on a Friday.
Not on Shabbat?
No. Shabbat, no. You have to be in the ground by Friday. Look what he writes over here. What is Torah Lishma? You know what Torah Lishma is? Not only learning Torah, even when you're learning the parts that you feel are boring. You don't only learn Torah whatever I feel is good. Even if you feel like you're bored. Not only that. Learning Torah Lishma is making chidushim in the Torah. Every time you make a chidush in the Torah, you're fixing all the tipot HaKeri that came out of you.
How you married to make a chidush?
How you merit? You need a zechut. How a person is in a business, suddenly he gets an idea to make the business better. He put his chidushim inside his business. When you're learning Torah, when you make a chidush in the Torah, you know what you're doing? You're mitaken all your avonot. The chidushim is mitaken all your avonot. The zechut of the chidushim is what's chadash, or what's chidush?
New.
It's new. You become a new person. It's your children. Remember we learned in Shari Gilgulim that a person, a tzaddik who doesn't have children, he has to come back in a Gilgul. But we learned that if he made chidushim in the Torah, those are his children. And it's a zechut. Zera Shimshon. Not only the Zera Shimshon, everybody got stuck in the Zera Shimshon. There's many tzaddikim. You know what kind of books I can tell you that you guys never saw in your life? You could learn. You want a zechut? I'm going to give you a book that nobody learns. And you're going to learn this book, you can have a zechut. How about that? Good? Today, not many people learn Zera Shimshon. I think that they took that singular and they, but we should be to their zechut. But also for you, listen. What do you think? A person who comes to tefillah, he makes the kavanah. I told you guys. The simple kavanah of the Ari HaKadosh. Yud Aleph, Hey Dalet, then Vav Nun, then Hey Yud. That kavanah, you think it's not a big deal? How many people in the world do this kavanah? Maybe you could count them in one sitting. So to end, I want to tell you guys a story, and we end with this. And with Hashem, we're going to finish with our Shari Kedusha after 56 shiurim. We're finally going to finish Shari Kedusha. There's a true story we're about to tell you. There was once a guy in Eretz Israel, in the time of the intifadas, shmintifadas, when they were blowing up the Jews over there. So there was one guy, he got into a bad accident, religious kollel guy. Today the yeshiva world is very big in Israel, but back in the day it wasn't so big. It's been getting more and more. Now 1 out of every 5 Israelis is a religious Jew. They're getting so scared that religious Jews are coming into Israel, they have to bring in 30,000 Africans, Jews. That's why they brought in the Russians to begin with. It's all metuchnan. They got to keep the secular life. They got to balance it. You know what I'm saying? Too much religious Jews is no good.
Bad for business.
Bad for business. But not in the holidays. Not before the holidays. So this guy was in the hospital in the rehab. And with him, you know, you're in rehab. What do you see mostly over there?
Nurses.
But older people, right? Older. A lot of well-dressed older men, not so religious, observant. And these people, they see a religious Jew right away. They shark attack. They have to get into a conversation with them. And most religious Jews, they hate these kind of conversations. Why? They're always, first of all, the minority. And everybody's very loathsome against the religious Jews, especially in Israel. You know, in Israel, when you drive a car in Bnei Brak over there, rocks get thrown at you, this, that, chapsin, this. Shagans! Shiksa. They yell. And so they get the conversation with this guy. He's like, oh, you religious Jews, you're fanatics. Fanatic in Russian. Fanatic. In Hebrew, how do you say a fanatic? Fanatic. You guys are zealots, meshugayim. You guys think you're Pinchas. You guys make Israel look dirty. You guys are dirty. They like to say that about religious Jews. They smell. They're dirty. Take a shower. The usual. Yeah. And this guy already, he doesn't know what to say over there. He just wants to run away from these guys. What are you gonna say? There was one guy sitting over there, elderly guy. He said, guys, before you continue, I want to tell you a story that I myself witnessed in Romania. I lived over there before the war, he said. And there was a small town over there on the border of Romania, Hungary. Now, if you guys don't know this, that in Hungary was the house of the Khatam Sofer. The Khatam Sofer, he lived in Hungary. Khatam Sofer was very fiery against the Reform movement. He used to rip the Reform movement into shreds. Anything Reform, like a fire. Khatam Sofer was the Gadol Ador. So there was in this town where this guy lived, he said they were very big zealots over there. The Satmar Aruf came from this town too, in Romania. It was on the border of Romania, Hungary. There was a guy over there, he said, his name was Shalom Ozer Braun. Shalom Ozer Braun. It was right before the war of the World War. It was right during the war of World War II. And it's not like today you have news, this, that. They got not the telegram. They got the news from people. There's concentration camps. There's this. There's that. People have to run away to Palestine. Back then it was a British mandate. Palestine. You have to run out of Romania. So this Shalom Ozer Braun, he was a very big fanatic. They said that the Satmar Aruf said about him, if you want to know how to pray, look at this guy. Wow. So he had a Judaica. So his wife told him, listen, we got to leave Romania. 12 children they had. He said, I'm not leaving this place. I grew up here under the Yiddishkeit. My father grew up Yiddishkeit. My grandfather Yiddishkeit. I'm not... Chinuch of my children is more important. I'm not sending my kids where the Zionists are, this, that. They're going to take my kids out of the derech. This guy had a brother called Shmuel Braun. His wife was pregnant. She told her husband, take our young son David, his name was David, run to Palestine. Save our, how Yaakov said, if Esav comes, hits one camp, at least the other camp is going to be saved. He says, no, I'm going to leave. She was pregnant. I'm going to leave. He says, no, you have to go. At the end, she convinced her husband. This is his. So he went to his brother, Shalom Ozer, and he said, listen, you have 12 kids. I got tickets. Tickets were very, very scarce. He said to him, let me take your kids with me. Let me save them. They got news of the concentration camps. He said, I was born here. I raised my family under Yiddishkeit. And the Bukhari said, Gir Chutakush. I'm not going anywhere. His sister-in-law came. She started to cry, but they heard rumors, Auschwitz, Birkenau, Buchenwald. We have to run out of here. Cried. Then he listened to his sister-in-law. He said, I let you take my 2 older children. One name was Eliyahu. The girl's name was Chaya Tziro. I'm saying real names over here. It's a true story. The guy is saying the story in the rehab, that he witnessed this story himself. It's all about fanaticism, he's saying. Say this fanatic, Shalom Oizer, the week before he sent his kids on a departure on the ship. There was no airplanes, it was all ship. His wife bought all the kids new clothing, shiny shoes. And there was bombs. The Russians, they were bombing all the towns. It was Shabbat, and there was no Eruv in town. And the bombs were falling, and it was all muddy. So he took off his shoes and he started Torah. Didn't want to get his shoes ruined. His father said, after he saw that, trip is canceled. You're staying here. His son said, why? He was 9 years old. He said, how could you carry on Shabbat? There is no Eruv. He says, Abba, are you crazy? It's bombs are falling. I didn't want to get the shoes. It's all muddy. He said, you're not leaving. I was raised with chinuch. My father was raised with chinuch. I'm going to raise you with chinuch. But Hitler, no Hitler, no Schmittler. You're staying here. His brother comes. What are you making a big deal? You fanatic. You this. He said, I don't care. I'm leaving my kids here. He says, you're crazy. So his brother Shmuel Braun, took his son David and his brother Noach, and they went by themselves. Now, at this point of the story, I'm sure you guys all agree that this Shulam Braun was not only fanatic. The guy, he has tickets to save his children. Get up and run. And also in the rehab, they were cursing him, the fanatic, religious fanatics. So what? He's a 9-year-old kid. So what? He took his shoes. Tiltul b'Shabbat. You crazy? So let me finish the story. It was December 1941, right in the middle of the war. The boat came and it docked in Turkey. The Turk said, if the British don't accept you, because Palestine's in the British, you're going back to Hungary. They sent a message to the British. They said, we're not taking them. The boat had 300 Jews and 100 Jewish children. And this Shmuel Braun was on this boat with his brother and his young son. The Turks said, we're not taking them as refugees. They sent a message to the British. They said, we're not taking them too. I don't care. Let them die. Send them back to Hungary. The people on the boat heard that. They don't want to go back to the war. They broke the engine. What did the Turks do? They didn't blow it up. They took the boat. They tied it to another boat. And they let it out to the sea.
Truck.
No food, no water, no nothing. 300 Jews in the boat. The Russians, they found the boat. They torpedoed it. The boat's name was the Struma, and it sank to the bottom of the ocean. The Shmuel Braun, his brother and his son, all died. Not one survivor. Now let's go back to what happened to Shalom Braun, with all of his fanaticism, with his son and everything. They survived the war. All 12 children, everybody survived the war. He made it to Eretz Yisrael. He went to the Vizhnitzer Rebbe. He said, where can I raise my kids with Jewish chinuch? He sent him to Kriyat Ata. And then eventually his daughter Chaya Tzirel married the son of the Vizhnitzer Rebbe, Rav Baruch Hegel. That's what the end. The guy is saying the story in the Riyadh is, look at the end, what happens to the fanatics, to the people who hold true to their ideology, to the people who hold true to their Judaism, to the people who hold true to Klal Yisrael. You might think that they were saving themselves. At the end, they got torpedoed to the bottom of the ocean. And that guy, with his fanaticism and everything, that kept true to his ideologies, he stayed alive with all of his children. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu bless us that we should stay true to our ideologies. Yeah. Just like Yehuda, he came and he held true to his ideologies. And he said, I'm taking my brother back with me, whether you like it or not. I'm ready to fight all of Mitzrayim. I'm taking him back with me. And when he came back, he built a yeshiva over there. May Hashem be mezakeh otanu lebracha.